day so far. This is just a quick update. I was looking through one of my other stories and this kind of popped up and it was kind of a bombshell, like, oh my God, that is amazing. It makes all the sense in the world based on what we know, but oh my God, that is amazing nonetheless. That flipped fast. They laughed at Donald Trump when Donald Trump said his campaign was being spied on. They're not laughing now. William Barr, the new Attorney General, in testimony, because the Democrats wanted to get their hands on Barr, because of they wanted to see the Mueller report and they wanted to see more information that was in the Mueller report. They finally get their hands on Barr. They finally get him in front of them where they can give testimony, and Barr comes out and says this.
I am going to be reviewing both the genesis and the conduct of intelligence activities directed at the Trump campaign during 2016. A lot of this has already been investigated, and a substantial portion of it has been investigated and is being investigated by the Office of Inspector General at the department. But one of the things I want to do is pull together all the information from the various investigations that have gone on, including on the Hill and in the department, and see if there are any remaining questions to be addressed.
And can you share with us why you feel a need to do that?
Well, for the same reason we're worried about foreign influence in elections. We want to make sure that during an election, I think spying on a political campaign is a big deal. It's a big deal. Generation I grew up in, which was the Vietnam War period, people were all concerned about spying on anti-war people and so forth by the government. And there were a lot of rules put in place to make sure that there's an adequate basis before our law enforcement agencies get involved in political surveillance. I'm not suggesting that those rules were violated, but I think it's important to look at that. And I'm not talking about the FBI necessarily, but intelligence agencies more broadly.
So you're not suggesting, though, that spying occurred?
I don't. I guess you could. I think spying did occur. Yes, I think spying did occur.
It's funny, it didn't seem like you wanted to say it. Like, it's kind of you pushed into it because you kept asking the question, and finally he was like, look, yeah, I do think spying did occur. This is now going to be somewhat of an investigation that Barr is doing. He's going to pull information from the Inspector General, and then after he gets some information from the Inspector General, he's going to see where he stands and see if any questions left remaining in this investigation. One of the main questions is, how did they get a FISA warrant in the first place? I mean, the dossier that they were using was unsubstantiated. It was unsubstantiated, a dodgy dossier. And yet, that unsubstantiated dossier was used to get a warrant in order to spy on the opposition's political campaign. That is problematic. It's problematic when Comey comes out and says that he's being pushed to talk about the campaign as if it's a matter. And I know I flip between those two, but I flip between those two because the same people that were involved in allowing Hillary Clinton to walk were the same people that were instrumental in getting Donald Trump hooked on a case. Barr's looking into it. We'll see what he says. I'm fascinated by this. This has piqued my curiosity like nobody else, because I've been on this channel saying there is something dodgy about the investigation with Clinton, and there's something even more dodgy that the people that were involved in one investigation that allowed the presidential candidate to walk was also instrumental in getting the other presidential candidate on. And if I know the first person should have been perp walked and wasn't perp walked, then I have to look at the people who are investigating them with a certain amount of skepticism about their intentions. So it's interesting to me that Barr comes out and says this bombshell that he believes the campaign was being spied We'll see where this goes. I haven't been watching the media, so I haven't seen how CNN has taken this news. But I would imagine they're probably not going to take it all that well. Or, hey, they may be fascinated by it, because for them, it may be just for rating points. But we'll see. This is a bombshell by Barr, however, saying that the Trump campaign was being spied on. Now, he wouldn't go so far as to indict the entirety of the FBI. He kind of made the point that this was kind of in the upper echelon of the FBI that might have, let's say, made some choices. He wouldn't go so far as to say somebody broke the law, but he does go far enough to say that the campaign was being spied on. He wants to see whether that spying was legit or not. Fascinating, fascinating, fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Let me see. Who's here? Clinton Mafia at work. Being that it's a FISA warrant, we may never know how it was acquired of that warrant. Oscar Santana. Well, you know, the information that they released showed that the FISA warrant, two things. 99.7% of all FISA warrants are approved. That is an astonishing number. 99.7% of FISA warrants are approved. Meaning, you don't need much to get a FISA warrant on somebody. However, in order to get that warrant, you're supposed to be honest with the judge, meaning you have to be completely and entirely honest with the judge, because there are not two people there. There is no defense. There's just the prosecution giving a reason why they want to get this or that warrant. If he finds that the information that was given to the FISA judge was sketchy or doubtful, or that the person wasn't being completely honest with the FISA court judge, there could be prosecutions coming from the investigation that Barr undertakes, especially if Barr finds something shady within this investigation. Trump has his guy in. And I have to be honest, I know this sounds weird. I didn't trust the people that were in line under Democrats. And it's not so much that I trust them under Trump. But there should be an investigation going into how this came about. Meaning, how on earth can you say that the president of the United States is a Russian plant and you don't have anything to say to back that up with? And not just a Russian plant, to be able to have an investigation that takes up 3 years of the public's consciousness off of what was, for the most part, a political, psychological stunt. Yeah, Barr is going to look into that because that's a big deal. They tried to take Donald Trump out of office. They couldn't do it legislatively, so they tried to use the prosecutorial system or the judicial system in order to do the job that Hillary Clinton couldn't do at the ballot box. The wild part about this is they wanted to take out Trump in order to get Mike Pence. Nevertheless, William Barr has essentially validated our suspicions and has made the point that, yes, he believes that spying was taking place on the Trump campaign. I'll leave it here. This is fascinating. This is fascinating. Calm down, pervert, freak. You can watch the golden shower videos. Oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. And you know, the wild part is they said Donald Trump, it wasn't him that got peed on, that he was so angry and enraged at Obama that a prostitute peed on the bed. I mean, think about that. I mean, come on. Hillary Clinton, initially I think it started off as a Republican, but eventually the Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party got around to purchasing information from a foreign government. And because they purchased the information, as opposed to supposedly being given the information, that's supposed to make all the difference in the world. And in purchasing that information, somehow John McCain ends up ferreting this information around. But eventually, when Trump fires Comey, it set off alarm bells. But up to this point, they had been spying on Trump's campaign anyway. And when they set off alarm bells, the goal was to take Trump out of office with this nonsense that Hillary Clinton was pushing, saying that Trump was colluding with the Russians, and that's the reason why she lost the race. She lost the race for all sorts of reasons. It wasn't the Russians. I'll end this here. Balthazar. The golden shower would be true. It would explain his love for tacky go shit, but there's no evidence of that. No, there's not any evidence of that, Balthazar. None. But it was enough to get an investigation for 3 years. 3 years. Do you realize that if they had picked a certain person might have wanted to take Trump out of that office, and in the same way that they let Hillary Clinton walk on crimes, that they might have actually gotten him on something that wasn't. If Comey would have came back, if Mueller would have came back, and let's say Mueller was a Democrat's guy, it doesn't matter what he would have used to substantiate what he would have said. Trump could have been taken out of that office and deposed in somewhat of a coup just from what the prosecutor said. Like, this is somewhat dangerous that they allowed this to take place. And by dangerous, I mean this ability to rip a president out of office off of little to sketchy evidence using what amounts to a political stunt in order to take him down. It's amazing. It's amazing. MacArthur Luzin, Jamal, come on, you should know better than that. Trump did collude. Trump did not collude with the Russians. No way, Shawari K. I told my husband long ago that there was no such thing as a PP tapes. He called me a Putin puppet. He didn't even claim there was evidence, and people saw the tapes. Wow, are you serious? I had a friend of mine that did that. I got one of my best friends. The guy was at my wedding, and he's like freaked out that Donald Trump won the race, and would be like, well, I'm not saying that, the PP tapes and all this other stuff did it, but he did collude with the Russians. Prove it. Well, I mean, look at all this evidence. No. I'm asking you to prove it. You're saying that the president of the United States is working with the Russians. You should be able to prove that. And if you're saying that the Russians interfere with the election, you need to be able to prove that too, not to mention the degree to which they interfered. Well, no proof that they work with the Russians. And even if you want to go with this idea that there were Russians that were interacting with the elections itself, no effect. Little to no effect. Hillary Clinton lost because she lost. And again, even if you want to say Russia has something to do with it, Donald Trump wasn't colluding with them. So the central thesis this entire time was that Donald Trump was somehow colluding with the Russians and getting Jake Ewert goes so far as to say he's being controlled by Vladimir Putin. So, all right, I'll leave this here. I don't want this one to be long. If you guys enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. And Shawari, you need to extract a penalty from your husband for doubting you on this. Yeah, you need to extract a penalty. My wife and I make bets on stuff like this. It's like like earlier today, we have what we call coupons, which means that for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the length of the coupon, the person gets to essentially control you for that time period. So this can be, hey, can you fix me a sandwich at 3 a.m. because I don't feel like getting up and doing it? In which case, if you have a 5-minute coupon, as long as it takes 5 minutes, you game. Or it can be, I'm feeling randy and I want to do really bad things. Either one. I would say, Shawari, extract a penalty from your husband. Right. I'll send him to BDS for his whipping. Right. Right. Yeah, right. I mean, after all, he's trying to say that you were wrong, and you ended up being right. And this has been going on for 3 years. 3 years. All right. I'll leave this here. Y'all have a good one. I may see you all later tonight. We'll see. Shawari Kate, I'm sorry that your husband has gone that route. Extract a penalty. Thanks all. And